If you ever felt like dieting was miserable, this system is going to change the game for you. You will lose 15 pounds, 15 inches, or more in that particular period of time. It works for busy people, if you're traveling, if you're going out socially, going to restaurants, it fits into your life instead of, say, forcing your life into, say, a rigid plan. This is a non-suffering way to be able to burn fat effectively, efficiently, and long-term. So lose 15 pounds and 15 inches in 30 days without starving or killing yourself in the gym. This is how we help our patients do it every single time. Hi, I'm Trev Buccieri, and I've personally actually done and documented 38 different nutrition programs, and I've helped my patients lose almost 600,000 pounds and over 133,000 inches from their midsections. And there's no starving, no brutal workouts, no complicated diets, just a simple system that actually works. And here's the thing, you can eat in a way that actually burns fat, keeps you full, and actually fits into your life. It does exist. So today what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through exactly how it works in 4 simple sections so you can start using it and losing it today. Let's start right away here with number 1. Section number 1, it's the dream body weight formula. How does it actually work? So here's the problem. First things first. Most diets tell you actually how to eat based on where you are, not where you want to be. This is not a diet. And we're calling it the 15 and 30, but this is taste-centered clean eating. You may have heard me say that before if you've watched any of my stuff, but we actually just called this the 15 and 30 because that is absolutely 100% possible. If you take this system and lean into it, it will happen. You will lose 15 pounds, 15 inches, or more in that particular period of time. My wife did it, and she actually only had she wanted to lose about 25 pounds. So she was closer to her goal, and she accomplished this no problem. And the reason I'm actually sharing that with you is just because of the fact that we tend to think, man, when I'm closer to my goal, it just becomes harder. And that may be the case, but here's something. If you're like, wow, I have a lot more than that to lose, this will crush it for you. So the 15 and 30 method really just, it flips the entire approach. Like we talked about, most of it is based upon where we are, not where we want to be. We start with actually your dream body weight, and we actually build your nutrition around where you want to be. And how we actually set up daily calories is like this. First things first, we take your goal weight. Let's just say, for example, we're gonna use simple math today, okay? So let's just say you wanna be, oh my gosh, I would love to be at 150 pounds, okay? So we say, okay, that's my dream body weight I'd love to be. So first things first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply that by 10, and that's gonna give you your daily caloric target, which would be, in this case, 1,500 calories. And this actually this is gonna automatically create that caloric deficit without starving yourself. Okay, so we want to make sure we have enough calories to support our metabolism, which is our muscle. If we're starving our muscle, guess what? Our muscle is the first to go. If we're starving our body says, oh my gosh, I need calories from somewhere. I'm going to get it from. We want it to be fat, but that's not the case. It goes from muscle. Okay, it goes from muscle first. Okay, unfortunately. So it says, oh my gosh, I need those calories right now. I'm going to take it from the muscle because that is the easiest to access. We start losing our muscle and our metabolism drops. What we've done here is we've created a caloric deficit, meaning we're burning more than we're taking in. However, we're going to make sure that we're eating the right stuff so we can maintain that muscle. So with this particular section here, we're mainly just concentrating on how does the actual dream body weight formula work. So again, you take your dream body weight, multiply that by 10. That's how many total calories you're going to be taking in for the day. It automatically creates that caloric deficit. So the whole fix it here, to kind of summarize it just for this beginning section, is stop following those generic diet plans and build your nutrition around your goal weight instead. Step number 2, section number 2, is how to actually set up your protein for maximum fat loss and also metabolic gain in terms of retaining as much muscle as possible so that our metabolism stays very, very high. So protein is the number 1 key for us here for fat loss. And here's how much you actually need. You're going to take your goal weight in grams of protein. Brilliant. That's it. All right. So again, if your dream body goal weight is 150 pounds, that means 150 grams of protein per day. Okay, now this protein we can get from, say, lean whole food sources like beef, chicken, eggs, turkey, fish, protein powder. And the reason why protein is king is because it boosts our metabolism. And protein is the building block of muscle. And we may have heard that before. So boost the metabolism. When we boost that metabolism, we're able to burn more calories and we're able to burn more fat, because fat burns in the belly of muscle. Fat burns inside of muscle. Muscle basically uses fat as fuel, and that's what we want. That's why we want as much functional muscle as we possibly can, because it's going to burn more calories in the form of fat. And it also, by eating that higher amount of protein, it preserves muscle mass, like we said, and you'll probably hear me say that like 15 times during this presentation here. It helps us preserve that muscle mass so that we can burn fat, not muscle. And if we're way under eating our protein, we're not going to have enough amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. We're not going to have enough of that to actually maintain the muscle, and then the muscle gets eaten as fuel. And we don't want that. We don't want that at all. So another reason why we actually want to have this protein here is because it keeps us full, and it actually kills our cravings. So it actually keeps us satiated. So we have no more hunger struggles when we actually utilize the protein. It's huge. So the fix here, hit your protein targets first, okay? So in terms of in your mind, it's like, where is that 150 grams of protein going to come from? Where is that going to come from? And you can kind of set this down into, say, MyFitnessPal or Chronometer. There's several different apps that you can actually track your food in, just so you can really get an idea of, well, what does 50 grams of protein look like? What does 100 grams of protein look like? What does 150 grams of protein actually look like? How many ounces of this? How many eggs? How many ounces of beef? So on and so forth is going to accumulate to get to 150 grams. And then you have your starting point. You've got your protein down. That is your first target, and that's going to basically be the baseline, your setup for everything else here. So we're moving into step number 3, and step number 3 is the calorie remaining rule and why we use fruit. So there's a giveaway right there. So we just, accumulated all of our protein, 150 grams of protein, and we know that, we want to be eating 1,500 calories total for the day. Once we actually have our protein set, we know what that's going to be. The rest of our daily calories are left for carbohydrates in the form of fruit. This is really interesting here, because here's an example. Let's just say our protein sources was some beef, some rotisserie chicken from the store, which has, because here's the thing, beef not only has protein in it, it also has fat. Rotisserie chicken not only has protein in it, it also has fat. Whereas, say, protein powder tends to only have a very little bit of fat. And the reason I say that is because the fat also has calories too. All right, so for example, here's my 150 calories. I'm going to have 5 eggs, this many ounces of beef, this many ounces of turkey breast, this many ounces of chicken breast, whatever it may be, and that equals 150 grams of protein. Fantastic. When we put it into our calculator, into MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, anything to actually educate us in terms of how many calories is this? Let's just say, for, again, simple math, it equals 1,000 calories. And the reason why the calories are so high is because not only are we counting for the calories from protein, which is 4 calories for every gram, but we're also accounting for the calories from fat, which is 9 calories for every gram. And that's just naturally occurring in these animal products, in these lean proteins right here. So we have 1,000 calories that we've actually utilized to get our 150 grams of protein, which leaves us with how many left? 500 calories left. And that's where we want to utilize fruit here. Those full remaining calories, 500 calories, we want to actually utilize as fruit. And that's going to give us to the 1,500 calories. Why do we use fruit instead of, say, processed carbs? And there's several reasons why. Number 1, this absolutely crushes your sugar cravings, and it does it naturally. So there's no need to actually, say, cut carbs to suffer in general. We've heard this, low carb, no carb, these type of things. Keto, I've done it. There's good attributes to keto. I didn't like it personally. I've seen it work for some. I've seen it not work for others. Again, this is just all personal preference. But again, my biggest goal here, whenever I'm trying anything out, is sustainability. Sustainability. And what I can absolutely say is I don't know anyone who has been doing keto for a long, long period of time and who's still doing it. So to me, I was kind of like, that doesn't really seem like the answer. Like some attributes of it, 100%, but it doesn't seem like the long-term answer, to be teaching my patients. So what the fruit is going to do is, number 1, it's going to actually be crushing those sugar cravings. So we have those cravings when we're doing a low carb, or a lot of times even like no fat, type diets and things like that too, where we just basically want to eat our arm off. Okay. And we're just like, oh my God, I can't wait to eat sugar. We're craving it so much because we are completely denying our body of it. Another reason why we want to use fruit as opposed to processed carbohydrates is fruit carbs, or fructose, is the easiest carb source for people to get on the go. So there's no meal prep or stress. Now, of course, when we're doing say fruit smoothies, you can get all snazzy with it. You can make fruit salads. There's so much you can do, but you could also grab an apple, grab a banana, grab some grapes, these type of things. There are no restrictions on that, because I know that there's some that say, oh, I can't do this because, it's a high glycemic index, these type of things. I've tested it all. Does it really matter? No. It really doesn't. It's like, what do you like? Do you like melons? Because I know that some people say, oh, watermelons, you can't do that, high glycemic index. That's not the problem. I can promise you that is not the problem. If we are eliminating all these other sources of these complex processed carbohydrates, that is the issue. That is the issue, and I've seen it 35,000 times, legitimately, 35,000 times over 29 years. And it is the easiest carb source to get on the go, but also actually the best energy source. It supports energy overall, it supports digestion and overall health. And here's my favorite thing about fructose. Fruit sugar, which is fructose, it does not require insulin to actually transport that sugar to the cell. It's the only sugar that does not require insulin. And let me break this down, what that means. And where does this pertain? This is really huge for patients who are pre-diabetic, who are diabetic, who are insulin resistant, or if you have any blood sugar type of issues. So here's what happens. Let's just say we eat an unprocessed carbohydrate like a bread, a pasta, a refined sugar, something like that, right? So we eat a piece of bread and it breaks it down. We break it down in our mouth, we break it down in our digestive system, and then the sugars, which is basically what we're breaking down, goes into our bloodstream. So now we have sugar from the bread going through our bloodstream. And then our pancreas basically is the organ that releases insulin. So it says, oh, there's sugar in the blood. It releases insulin. The insulin goes to the blood and it picks up these little sugar molecules and it attempts to actually bring it to the cell receptors so that the cells can actually use that sugar as fuel. But what happens is, essentially, it bounces off the cell and it cannot actually transport it to the cell because there's too much actual saturated fat that's lining the actual sheath of the receptor site. So there's an area where basically the sugar tries to get into a receptor and it can't be absorbed because there's too much of a fatty sheath on the inside. So it just says, okay, I'm just going to let it go, and it goes back into the bloodstream. So we remain high blood sugar. High blood sugar is happening there. Fructose, or fruit sugar, on the other hand, does not require insulin to do this. So we eat a piece of fruit, let's say we eat a banana, the sugar automatically goes into the blood, just like the bread did. However, insulin is not needed to be released by the pancreas to move that sugar to the cells. It actually happens naturally. It's the only food that does this. So it's a beautiful food if you have insulin resistance, prediabetes, diabetes, or blood sugar issues. You actually can eat fruits. And what I also hear all the time is that doctors are saying, oh, no, you can't. What I will tell you is that I love doctors. I have mad respect for them, but they are not nutritionists. They are not nutritionists. And I've seen this thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And what I'm talking about is I've seen this thousands of times is I've seen proof of what I'm talking about in my patients over and over and over again. And what I mean by proof is I'm no longer pre-diabetic. I'm no longer diabetic. My doctor told me, congratulations on your life change. You are no longer pre-diabetic. You are no longer diabetic, to the point where I'm like, exactly. It's not even surprising anymore because I've seen it so many times. And this is why. This is a real huge secret right here. Something that can really just free you from feeling like, wow, this is going to be a suffering process for me to get rid of diabetes. And here's the greatest thing about it. This generally happens when we're going at it, when we're really getting after it, between 3 and 4 weeks. Between 3 and 4 weeks, your diabetes can be gone. It can be reversed. You can be off your medication. Interesting, right? Now, if we're going to be talking about medication, of course, you're going to want to go to your doctor who will then gradually wean you off of that as well. Same thing with, like, say, blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications. These things we see all the time as well. Okay, so just some food for thought on that, no pun intended. Absolutely see your doctor on weaning you off. If you're utilizing this and you're starting to feel a little bit dizzy and things like that, it means that your medication is now too high. You don't need as much anymore, and they're going to need to adjust it and adjust it and adjust it as you need less. Okay, so we're talked about that. The unprocessed carbs, all right, which is the fruit sugar compared to processed carbs. Processed carbs, they do need the insulin, like the bread, the pasta, the refined sugars. Fruit bypasses that insulin resistant issue, and it really just makes fat loss so much smoother. So your fix here for this particular section we're talking about in terms of the calories remaining rule. So again, we had 150 grams of protein. We added all the math up and we said, oh, that's 1,000 calories. And again, I'm just saying hypothetically here. So that means I have 500 calories left for the day, and we're gonna eat that in fruit. All right, so using fruit as your main carbohydrate source, it's simple, it's effective, and it fuels your cells for fat loss without the crash. There is no crash. You will feel energy straight through, and that is huge. Now, number 4, why this actually works for both fat loss and also long-term health. All right, and I'm talking about this entire program. And here's the take. This is not a diet. This is taste-centered clean eating. It's a system that's actually built for real life. Taste-centered clean eating. There's tons of recipes, all based upon taste. Tons of variety, zero restriction. That's the cool thing as well. And you might have just said, well, yeah, but we're talking about protein and we're talking about, eating the remaining calories that we have in fruit. That's phase 1. And then phase 2 is how we actually open it up to those remaining calories can essentially be anything. It's very, very flexible. It works for busy people. If you're traveling, if you're going out socially, going to restaurants, it fits into your life instead of, say, forcing your life into, say, a rigid plan, which again, when we go into rigidity, there's only so long until we actually rebel and we say enough is enough is enough. Also, a program like this, it is science-based and science-backed for fat loss and also metabolic health. And when we're talking about, well, what's metabolic health again? That's the support of muscle mass. Support of muscle mass, more healthy muscle means that we're burning fat 24/7 and we're burning more of it, which means that we can actually sustain our results for a longer period of time without feeling like we're suffering. All right, we can do it for long term. We all say, man, I just don't want to put in this effort, gain it all back, and then some, and have to start all over. And if you are like 99.9% of our patients, including myself, because I am also one of our patients, this has happened to me over and over and over again. This is the story of dieting, and I got sick of it. And I said, I got to find a different way. I got to find a better solution that I actually fall in love with and that I enjoy doing. And that's really where it's like, it starts with taste-centered clean eating. So it's science-backed for fat loss and metabolic health. It eliminates that common, fat loss blockers of, the blood sugar, mood swings, insulin resistance, and also hunger, right? It reduces inflammation naturally. That's a big thing. It reduces the inflammation of the cell, like we talked about, naturally. So that cellular wall really just begins to settle down. It begins to settle down. It becomes less inflamed. Nutrients are able to be absorbed here. Hormones that actually come and touch the cell, they are actually able to be read. The signals are able to be read and transmuted into the cell and communicated into the cell. Toxicity that's actually created in the cell inside of the mitochondria, the powerhouse, is able to be extracted from the cell so the cell remains clean and whole. It reduces that inflammation naturally because there's no processed foods and no artificial junk. And it trains your body to actually burn fat effortlessly. And I was actually just talking to my wife about this the other day, and she was just saying, because she just had our 4th son 8 months ago, and she's just like, I just can't believe how easy it was this time. It's like, I wish you would have figured this out before. And we got a huge laugh about it too. But that's the whole thing. She's like, I just can't believe how easy it was. And I love it. She's like, I'm not going to stop this because I actually found the formula that I love to eat. And that's the thing, is we give so many different solutions and there's so many different options with taste-centered clean eating. The people, what I've found as well is that we tend to eat the same 20 food products over and over again. We find what we like and we stick to it for a period of time until we're kind of like, I'm sick of that. And then we find something else. And there's hundreds of options to choose from. And she's kind of in the same category that I am. I've found a formula that really works for me, and I kind of like to repeat eat. And I found a formula that I'm like, I cannot wait. In fact, I have my last meal today after this when I go home, and I'm like, I'm really looking forward to it, genuinely. And she feels the same way. And she's like, this is amazing because I feel like I'm not on a diet, And that is the key. That is the key, because diet to us automatically transmutes in our head suffering. This is a non-suffering way to be able to burn fat effectively, efficiently, and long-term. It allows for that long-term freedom. And once you actually reach your dream body, you can actually start introducing more variety. So now, let's just say you had that same 1,000 calories, all right? You had that same 1,000 calories at 150 pounds was your dream body, and wow, you got to 150 pounds, you're there. So you wanna still continually eat that 150 pounds, or 150 grams of protein per day, and with those remaining calories, which we're actually gonna up, because if we don't up your calories at that point, you'll continue losing. So we actually have to up your calories. So you get to eat more at that point, which is even more awesome. And now you can start introducing more variety if you choose. Now I will say, if you stick with fruit, it is absolutely going to be your best source to continue on. But if you want to actually include something different to, again, make it more interesting, make it even more fun for yourself, even more sustainable for yourself, fantastic. Let's just say now you're allowed to have 1,700 calories. Well, so you would still eat the 150 grams of protein, which is still 1,000 calories. We'll just say for this example, now you have 700 calories that you can essentially eat what you want. Okay, let's just say, you know what? I actually want to have a grilled cheese sandwich today. And then I'm going to have a couple apples to make up the difference. And that'll be my 700 calories. You know what? That will not hurt you at that particular point. It really won't. Now, is it going to provoke a little bit of cellular inflammation? A little bit. But as long as you're keeping these other practices up consistently over time, nope. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's been game-changing. What you're going to learn is you're going to learn how to balance enjoying foods and maintaining results without stress. So here's the fix, is if you ever felt like dieting was miserable, because it is, this system is going to change the game for you. It absolutely will. So now that you have the secret to actually lose what you want and love the process, I hope you crush it. I know you will crush it. And if you've ever actually tried a diet that made you feel miserable, I would love to know what happened. Let me know in the comments below here. And if you really feel you got some value here, I'd love for you to follow for more. If you didn't feel like you got some value, please let me know, how can I actually be better for you? What content can I make for you that would be really, really usable for you? Again, my name is Trev Buccieri. I so appreciate your greatest asset, which is your time. Thank you so much for joining me today, and give your best to the rest of your day. Take care. Bye now.